Hey! Hey there! Today I'm going to give you guys the summary of the recently concluded dev livestream as well as share my thoughts about it. First, as always, they are apologizing for the shortcomings in the recent updates, especially regarding the swords and Halloween skins. A lot of players have complained about the sword's DPS performance, but to be honest with you guys, swords aren't completely totally useless, especially with the recent buffs that gave Shadow some massive improvements. Manus is already being used against bosses and Luna for Battlefield Concert. And the potential for the swords once we get more damage modules and when weapon cores affect unique weapons are immense. They improved the swords' performance by buffing them in the recent patch, but swords doesn't really have any build diversity as of now due to the lack of modules, but I can patiently wait for when that comes. Sword farming is also improved by increasing the relevant chest spawns and materials amount. On top of that, they are also going to give out keys through events. The complaint about the Halloween skins were about its lack of distinctiveness and value. As a compensation, the upcoming cleaning and medical skins will be offered for free as event rewards. They have expressed that the month of October has been a very challenging month for them, and we, especially the veterans and content creators, we felt it. But as someone who loves this game so much, I have a high patience threshold. Especially that I bought a NASA PC just for this game. It may not be the case for other people. Moving on, the content for Season 3, Episode 2 mainly focuses on the idea of rediscovering humankind's focal point in this climactic battle against Corel, and thus circulates in the idea of assembly. In the story, every Descendant will be shown and will have their own unique dialogue. The episode will also revolve around a new dungeon called the Supermassive Receptor Dungeon. And just to clarify, this is not a Void Vessel dungeon. This can be accessed in Axion and through a terminal in Albion. The dungeon is going to be quite different, showcasing Colossus corpses, moving platforms, and a new boss, the Pattern Flores, which attacks using its laser and tentacles. This boss also has an extra countermeasure against Serena that punishes her flight ability. The episode will also feature a new Descendant, Harris, the very first test subject to receive an RK Forced Awakening due to her critical injuries from the recent altercations with Corel. Harris is a toxic tech and fusion descendant that does not consume mana. She also specializes in close combat that somewhat has similar abilities as Ajax, Kyle, and Bunny. Her passive ability is called Internal Toxin Control that replaces mana with toxic gain and consumption. You are going to receive different buffs depending on the amount of toxin she has stored. Her first ability looks similar to Kyle's ability, but this one has 6 stacks that gains toxin for storage and inflicts Toad status. Using this ability consecutively will grant the third strike a more powerful effect. The second ability launches Harris in a distance that deals damage, gains toxin per enemy hit, and gains protective barrier based on her maximum HP. This ability also stuns hit enemies and reduces its cooldown by 80% when not hitting an enemy. When activated, your other abilities will be converted into directional skills to be used to guide Harris towards the landing area. Her third ability is an AoE ability that deals damage periodically while consuming the stored toxin. You are able to cast her other abilities while her third ability is active, and it remains active as long as you have toxin stored. Harris will also receive a movement speed buff. The fourth ability emits a laser that applies a debuff that gives additional damage multiplier to melee weapons based on your skill power. The stacks here may indicate that the effect only lasts after 12 hits, because stacking skill power times 1500% 12 times is very powerful. I could be wrong here though. Hitting enemies will also increase your defense. Harris's first Transcendent module is called Focus Supervision, which modifies her passive, first ability, and her fourth ability. Her passive, instead of giving additional melee damage, you gain fire rate. It also changes her first ability and converts it into a range ability and reduces its stacks by 3. It modifies her fourth ability and it now works similar to Bunny's fourth ability that consumes toxin per second while reducing toxin resistance per stack while also recovering ammo. The next Transcendent module modifies Harris's second ability and third ability, which basically just gives barriers and barriers to allies. Harris has 1 premium skin available for purchase and 1 skin that can be bought from the battle supply in the battle pass. Her blueprints and materials can be targeted as a reward and they can be farmed in the Supermassive Receptor dungeon. There will also be a new growth system that uses an existing module slot. These are called Ancestor Modules that is unique to every Descendant, meaning Bunny cannot have an option that increases skill power for fire or skill power on tech. These can be farmed in Wall Crusher, Sigma Sector, and ETA 0. However, acquisition of the Ancestor Module is capped per day. You are able to loot different option rarity that can be enhanced using Hyper Shards. Each count of readjustment increases the cost of upgrading the module. There will also be a new stat called Synchronization Value that directly affects the option value you inherit from the Ancestor Module. The module option varies depending on the values. You are able to loot a module that has 4 options, and the values are proportionally distributed based on the other option values. We do not know yet if we are able to enhance the current value of the options. Trading system will also be available on the patch. How it works is that the seller is able to earn calibers by trading trigger or Ancestor modules. Item-to-item trading isn't allowed. 10% of the earned caliber will be deducted from the total value of the traded modules shouldered by the seller. Even if you have 0 caliber, as long as the traded modules have a value, it will go through. A quality of life feature is also available in their website and mobile app, which allows you to browse through a selection of modules. Purchasing will send a whisper in-game for you to set up the transaction in-game. However, the trading for the trigger and Ancestor modules released in November will only be allowed in December to normalize the market. The new Battle Pass features medieval skins, emotes, eSIV, and some Star Wars reference. The new sword Hypernova will be acquired in this Battle Pass as well. This is a 7-hit strike sword that is followed by rapid strikes. The ability is similar to a budget version of Lap Extraction Grenade. I can see the sword being used by Descendants, especially that it also deals some decent damage. Hypernova's Transcendent skin is called Lightbringer that suits Serena well. This can be purchased as a separate item in the shop. The new ultimate weapon which can be farmed from the new dungeon is called Hive Master. This is a toxic tactical rifle that attaches an insect at a target. Shooting the infected target zaps nearby enemies while periodically deals pulse AoE damage. I can see how effective this is when you infect a tough enemy, because the ability doesn't trigger when the enemy is defeated. Here are the new sword modules. I won't be covering this in detail, but so far, majority is just ammo utility. Nothing can be used for Luna's Battlefield Concert yet to fill up the 2 free module slot, which increases her damage even more. There will also be 18 new Descendant modules, and from the looks of it, it looks like majority if not all synergizes with ability types like trigger modules. There will also be 19 new Mutant Cells, which again, majority if not all synergizes with ability types. There are 3 new trigger modules. The first one is Steel Vanguard that synergizes with Clash type skills. It deals a base damage plus a multiplier based on max HP and shield per second over a duration. And this basically has a 100% uptime if the duration is at 10 seconds. This trigger module also inherits the reactor type, which changes the attribute damage, and it also changes the effects. The next module is called Relative Speed, which works well with Viesa as it synergizes with abilities that inflict slow, which deals additional base damage, plus a multiplier based on your max mana. This also inherits the reactor attribute. The last one is called Domino Drive that synergizes with chain time abilities. This increases your fire skill power and max expandable range for a maximum of 15 stacks. There are 2 new component sets. The Hazmat component set increases shield, reduces cooldown, and increases toxic skill power when using an AoE type abilities. The Pulsating Power set synergizes with emission type abilities, which increases ability type skill power and skill cost reduction per stack. At 5 stacks, it adds a new skill power bucket as an ability type skill power bucket. Yay, more to add in the formulas. HAILEY will be receiving some improvements through 2 new Transcendent modules. In general, the movement speed penalty from Cold Fury has been massively improved. Cryogenic Cluster Shot has been buffed. The first Transcendent module is called Camouflage Sniping, which modifies her 3rd, 4th, and passive abilities, which basically grants a camouflage effect on HAILEY when using her 4th ability and increases damage against enemies that are not targeting you. The next module is the Cold Heart Transcendent module. This module modifies HAILEY's passive to give skill critical hit and damage against nearby target. It also modifies her first ability similar to Cryogenic Cluster Shot. Her fourth ability no longer uses Zenith but releases an AoE attack. Her third ability, instead of decreasing her movement speed, it now increases her movement speed per stack. So essentially with this module, she become a pure skiller Descendant with a touch of Firearm synergy from her third ability. Unique weapons of HAILEY and Glay will receive bonus additional effects depending on the number of cores slotted on the weapon, which makes a massive difference. Other unique weapons like Luna, Freyna, or Jaber will get its buff soon. For quality of life improvements, Wall Crasher has been readjusted to be a bit more resistant to multi-hit, less resistant to skill critical hit, while a possible reduction to its HP just to shorten the gap between Serena and other Descendants. But of course, based on their tests, Serena still deals the higher DPS. Void Erosion will also receive some improvements. The enemy type will rotate per season, and this season will remain as Legion of Darkness. The spawn intervals and tasks will also be narrowed down to cater to slow-moving Descendants. Photo mode will have a photo lighting feature, and I know my photo mode community will love this very much. Unfortunately, the Bayonetta Collaboration won't have any playable content, but the next collaboration is in the works and they promise to incorporate playable content related to the collaboration. But for now, here are the skins and the emotes. This will be available on November 6th alongside the new premium skins for Valby and for Nell. The November 20th skins will consist of common skins for male and female, alongside new skins for the hover bikes. Hover bike attachments like headlights, storage packs, and side boosters will also be available. For the events, it's the same mission events as the previous events, another Ultimate Descendant box event, and Serena's cleaning service skin outfit for free. Overall, this patch is actually quite okay. More things to calculate because of the new modules, Mutant Cells, and Ancestor Modules. I love that the new dungeon isn't a Void Vessel dungeon because I am sick of that place for a while. Also quite pleased that the new sword can be acquired in the Battle Pass instead of farming it in Void Vessel. The trading system can be controversial. I know people are going to be split on this, but I also understand their decision. Harris so far can be good just by looking at the abilities, especially the laser one. We'll see. One thing that made me like this patch is that I have some stuff to grind, especially the Perfect God Rolls Ancestor Modules. For now, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!